Materials also rose by nearly 7%. And there may be more upside for these sectors. Standard & Poor's says November through April has typically been the strongest stretch for some of the riskier cyclicals. What's driving the cyclicals higher? Let's talk about it with YuDee Chang, Chief Principal of ACE Investment Strategies, along with Peter Klein, Senior Portfolio Manager at Fifth Third Asset Management, who oversees large cap value strategies and all cap value strategies. Good to have you on the program, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
YuDee, you see cyclicals weathering this downturn and capitalizing on a recovery. How so? Tell us what an investor needs to know.
Well, if you think about it, Maria, basically the market is still in this so-called tale of two cities. So overall market speaking, we still don't believe it's going to go anywhere. But within the overall market, sector-wise, it's going to take turns. Cyclical, like you said, especially on the timing part of it, basically is a strong period of the year going to the holiday season, especially. That's why we like the cyclical, especially on a pullback after it has a tremendous run already.
And Peter, we've seen strength in consumer discretionary, of course, the industrials and materials since March of '09. Which stocks do you like in the sectors, and do you think these sectors continue running?
I think, Maria, you have, like our guest said, a couple of things going on, one of which is you've had strong performance out of the market bottom from industrials, consumer discretionary, and materials. And I think that particular story is well ensconced in a lot of the prices of these stocks. Where we are focusing our attention is on some of the more defensive areas within those particular sectors. Names such as Tyco and General Dynamics and GE. Each of those three companies, for instance, have a lot of doubt associated with some of their strategies. Additionally, in the consumer area, Best Buy is another particular stock that has some uncertainty regarding investors' appreciation for its potential. So we're sticking with more of the defensive kinds of picks at this point and staying away from those related to commodity or extraction industries.
Now, YuDee, you see some possible headwinds, though, for the cyclicals.
Yeah,
is that
I do.
Europe and Asia or something else?
Well, I think especially related to Asia, I think the growth story in Asia is still there. I understand recently, of course, people worry about the fact that the Chinese government wants to curb the growth in Asia. But if you look at China, you look at India, I think the growth story is still definitely there, despite the fact that there might be inflationary pressure there. Thus, I still like the cyclicals. Actually, another sector I like is actually more of a construction or materials relating to the same story, the growth of the so-called Asian growth, leading pretty much by China and India.
What do you know, Peter, about those cyclicals performing in a midterm election year?
Well, right now we have very limited experience about, for instance, the gridlock that people are talking about. This year, the cyclicals, as identified as industrials and materials and consumer discretionary, have done very well. They've outperformed the market. I think that has been in anticipation of some of the things that we've seen lately in terms of the political situation. But in terms of where we go from here, I'm fairly certain that a lot of very high optimism has been baked into these areas, and investors ought to be cautious.
Well, within the group, do you see any leadership that you would want to put money to work to before?
Some of the things that we have been investing in, for instance, as I mentioned before, Tyco, I think security and safety products, services in those areas will be very important. I think in the energy area, energy infrastructure, General Electric is a name there that is of interest. In the chemical area, Dow Chemical, for instance, has a lot of exposure to specialty chemicals now with their recent purchase over the years. So those would be some of the things that I think we would want to emphasize in our portfolios, and have done so.
And YuDee, real quick final question here. What changes this situation? What do you worry about that actually puts a wrench in the scenario of perhaps these groups doing well?
Well, I think the only reason will be still some type of a downturn in the economy, in the market, maybe some type of resurgence of the European debt problems, or maybe it is some kind of inflationary problem down the road, which is going to hurt the growth of the world economy, thus hurting the cyclicals. I think out of cyclicals, I really still like the consumer discretionary. I think that's a group, especially maybe by leisure, is going to do pretty well.
And your leading picks within consumer discretionary, YuDee?
I think somewhere related to leisure and traveling. I still like that sector a lot.
Any specific names there?
I think for disclosure reasons, I would rather not disclose at this point.
No problem. YuDee, thank you very much. Gentlemen, good conversation. We appreciate your time today. We will see you soon. We've got 25 minutes before the closing bell sounds on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 13 points. NASDAQ, Simon, fractionally higher here.